Well, hello, friends and fellow pioneers. Today I have the pleasure of having with me David Stelzer, the CEO of Azure Standard, a co op that our family has enjoyed for over 10 years. We actually have purchased through Azure before through friends, but we became members 10 years ago. And I wanted to bring you this resource because probably in the last year or so, you may have felt a little bit of frustration with the distribution system for your food. And if you haven't heard of Azure, or maybe if you've heard of Azure but uh, haven't tried it out, I just really wanted you to hear from David what Azure is about, and to inspire you and give you the resources to look into it for your family. This is a free resource. There is no membership fee, but the value is priceless. So with that, I again want to thank you, David, for being on the broadcast today, and I want you to share with us share with us briefly how Azure got started, and share with us some of your passion for quality food, and how that happens, how you're able to help that happen through the efforts with Azure.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate what you do here. Um, no, absolutely. My family started farming organically in 1973, way before it was normal or cool. And so, and we started that. Mostly my father did, because he was so concerned about the health of the family and how that played into it, the chemicals and the soil health. And so, fast forward, we were selling into various markets for about, 20 years there. In the late 80s, I realized that we had something superior, and I really wanted to take it to people who really appreciated it and cared. And so that's when I came up with the name and the model, Azure Standard. Obviously, it's changed a little bit over the years, but here we are. Basically now serving pretty much the entire United States. Back then, of course, it was just right here in the Northwest. Our farm is in Eastern Oregon, or North Central Oregon, really. And, has been organic for, probably one of the longest pieces of organic farm ground in the country, continuously organic. So I'm very proud of that. And my passion really runs deep with organic food, because I had health problems as a child, particularly, and what my parents did really saved my life, because I would not be able to function as a normal human being were I not very, very conscious of my diet. And so I realize more and more folks all the time are in a similar situation. And we want to bring the very, very best. And we certainly want to grow the very, very best. Organic products, it's kind of a two-tier thing. So it's, first of all, it's what you don't get in your food that you may not want, things like glyphosate and herbicides, insecticides, all those kinds of fungicides, the things that most conventional farmers put on the crops. And there's always residue of that stuff. Any conventional farmed product. In fact, they've even found pesticide residue in some organic stuff. You have to know what you're doing and be careful, because some of that stays in the soil for a long time or drifts. They're putting it on by air, and I mean it's a thing. So you've got that. But what I'm more excited about, and even than that, and that is huge. I mean, that's a big deal. But what I'm even more excited about is what is in the food under organic system. Because in an organic system, we actually, the soil produces the plant that is in balance. So in conventional agriculture, they use a fertilizer called anhydrous ammonia, typically, or some derivative thereof. And basically what it is a synthesized nitrogen. So nitrogen is actually a protein. It's a protein, but it's everywhere. It's in the air, it's in the soil, it's in the water. But it's an element that is the growth regulator in a plant. So it makes a plant grow. So the more nitrogen you have, the bigger the plant gets, the more it grows. The problem is that if you're synthesizing nitrogen and the nitrogen's not really there, then the plant thinks it has more nutrients than it actually has. So it cannot fill out the food that you get from that with all the nutrients that are actually needed for human health. In human health, I mean, as far as we know, right now, there's 72 known elements that are vital to human health. When an average farmer is putting on their fertilizer, they're only usually looking at three elements, NPK. So you're not getting the full balance. In nature, nature intended to have happen was for the microbes that are in the soil. Now, in healthy soil, in one handful of healthy soil, and I left to demo that, but there are more living organisms than there are humans on Earth. There are literally billions of living organisms in healthy soil. And the job of those organisms are to break down the nutrients that are in the soil it could be from the sand and silt that's in the soil initially, but more likely from the, debris, the previous crop debris or whatever that is in the soil, that they will break that down and you create new nutrients for the next generation of plants. And that's how it's intended. Now, when your soil is in balance and the microbes are actually creating the nutrients, and I'm not saying you don't, we actually put some extra stuff on to feed them a little bit, but you're microbe farming, making them healthy, not trying to chemically feed the soil. So we're biologist farmers, not chemist farmers. And so when the plant only gets enough nitrogen based on all the other elements in the soil, and yes, there is often plenty of nitrogen. We have beautiful crops that are as big as the neighbors many times, but it's because the microbes have created all of the elements necessary for healthy food. So everything that plants needs is created in balance. And that is the beauty of organic food, because you're getting what you need. What that plant is supposed to have, the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, and the oils and fats, as well as maybe the essential oils in many cases. So that's the beauty of it.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. It's so amazing how you said that you basically you're doing it with biology and not chemistry. That is so on point, working with nature and not trying to basically manipulate it and change it into something that God did not intend for it to be. At least that's one of the things I took, with me from what you shared. So one of the, that has that's critical for food quality and for soil quality. And I wanted to also talk to you about safety. You talked about how things can stay in the soil, like it's not just on the food. It poisons the soil. Uh, Beyond the conversation of organic versus not organic, or the labeling, are there any other tips for food safety that you can share with people, that has to do with, because the reason I'm bringing this up is there are foods that are not labeled organic, so I don't want to just say only organic foods are safe. There are some of the foods even available through Azure, for example, that are um, pasture raised or grass fed, and maybe they don't have the organic label. What are some things that consumers should think about in regards to food safety when they are looking at the options out there for conventional food versus safe food, whatever that label might be? Do you have anything to share in regards to that?
Well, my rule of thumb is, if we're going to trust the label, be very careful that we have the organic label, unless we know where it's coming from. Now, if you're at a farmer's market and you met the farmer and you know where it's coming from, or in Azure's case, we sell grass-fed beef, or cheeses, Grazier's cheese or whatever. Most of those cases, I've been to those farms. Okay, so our grass-fed Cunningham beef, just for instance, it's not certified organic. They've got like 18,000 acres in Eastern Oregon that these cows graze on. It's wild out, it's wild country out there. It's almost like eating game in a way, as far as those cows are fed. But they do not go through the certification process, primarily in their case because of the butcher. They can't, the following that chain of custody all the way through in organic is very difficult. You have to have a certified organic butcher. You have to have all the processes in place. And, with the USDA and the FDA involved in all that stuff, it becomes, increasingly difficult for smaller operators. Even though they have a lot of acreage, they're still a small operator when you're talking the cattle business. So we support, many of those kind. I'm not stuck on the label per se. I'm more stuck on the process. How close is it? Well, it's not maybe quite as good as organic. I'd rather see it organic followed all the way through and have the label. But the label is not what it's about. It's about what we're putting in our bodies. And,
I think also, David, what we're putting in our bodies and what the animals put in their bodies, because when it's grass fed and it's not organic, but it's not fed organic grain, for example, for cattle, or when it's pasture raised and maybe it's not being given too much, of the feed, but more of the natural grass, for example, for poultry. Kind of understanding that is critical too for being smart consumers, I think.
Well, there's a great rule of thumb to go by. Anything you can eat as close to the way the Creator made it as possible, the better off you are. So when you're talking about animals, ruminants were meant to eat grass, not grain. Oh, maybe they get a little grain in the fall when, they nip it off the heads of grass seed or whatever. But for the most part, they're meant to eat grass. Poultry, not so much. I mean, they're meant to eat seeds and bugs and things like that. So in nature, that's what again, It's all back to the bacteria. The bacteria in a ruminant is designed to digest that and create optimum protein and nutrients in that animal based on what the bacteria that are naturally in that digestive system is. And that's true of animals, it's true of us, it's true of the soil. Everything is in the microbes are what's there to make that difference. And so the closer we can eat it to the way it's intended, you throw a bunch of grain at a ruminant, okay, they might get fat. They're going to throw on some fat, but it's not really being digested properly because they don't have the bacteria for it. It's not there. I mean, when God made them, he didn't put that bacteria in their gut because they didn't need it. And so that's why when we mess with that that aspect, so we've got, are we using the bacteria? Are we biologically farming correctly? Whether it's in the animals, whether it's in the soil, and even in our own bodies, for our own health, making sure that we're eating the things that the microbes in our digestive system are meant to digest. That's key to health. It really is.
Yeah, it's like staying true to the design, the intended design that God created us for, and the provision that we have through the animals in creation and the everything. So recently, in the last the last few months for Texas, but in the last year for all of us, we've had issues with the distribution systems for food and groceries. And that really inspires our family to share with people that Azure Standard exists.
Well, thank you.
We have been promoting Azure for many years, but I wanted to have this to be intentional about telling people about Azure because of not only the buying power that the buying club model presents, but also when you get away from the retail establishments and their distribution that they rely on, it gives people an opportunity to have not just more options or options in bulk, but an alternative option of groceries and other items that their family might need. So recently in Texas, we had the dark winter, the winter storms, and a lot of people were affected by that. It not only were they snowed in areas that there's never been a situation like that before, but if they could get out, the stores were closed or the stores were empty. So for those type of situations, if a family wanted to eat healthy and buy food in bulk in a way that they could have provision beyond just week to week, beyond just even month to month. If they wanted to have a supply of food that they could purchase that was healthy and it was packaged in bulk so that they could store it and have some provision for their family for things that were healthy, that they knew that they were going to be feeling good in what we say is that basically you want to eat more healthy in a survival situation, not less healthy, because your food, your body's already stressed. So, you want to give it optimum nutrition, not by processed foods and other types of things for a survival situation. So that is one thing that I really appreciate about Azure is the buying power to buy healthy food for much less, sometimes to buy food that's not really locally available locally, but also the opportunity to have what we say sometimes when the world zigs, we zag, you know. So when people are going to the grocery store, we're going to our meetup. And it's, you know, it's outdoors. We don't have to go through any kind of, you know, indoor situations. We can be, you know, free to be outdoors and meet our truck for the pickup. There, you know, there are other options to order from Azure, but that's the most cost-effective way. And so I wanted people to really know that in a situation where they prepare for emergencies in advance, well, that's what preparedness is, right? You don't wait for it. In emergency preparedness, in crisis preparedness, to know that they don't have to buy conventional food in bulk. There are options to buy healthy foods. Can you tell us more about this buying club model for people that don't know about how to purchase food in this way? How do you generally share with people what this model is about?
Well, you know, years ago when I first started doing this, you know, I first started selling to retail stores. And so I delivered to retail stores. And then one of the things that I kept getting is, you know, I was delivering out in Eastern Washington and Oregon. And so it started out, it was more friends and family and friends of friends and family that kept asking me, hey, you're driving by there. Can you bring me some of this or that? Some of, you know, this kind of food and that. And so after a while, I got to thinking, well, I can't really do that much more as a favor. So that's when I put the first catalog together for the buying club concept. It kind of got born out of necessity in some, you know, some food deserts out here, so to speak, where you can't really get really good, healthy food. And obviously it's grown tremendously since then, but that's the concept. So if we want to feed our families healthy, well, number one, we're going to prepare the vast majority of our food at home. So we have to have the ingredients available to prepare that food at home. And if you want to be prepared for that snowstorm that's going to hit Texas again in another, who knows when, or hurricane, I guess, down there as well, my recommendation is have a pantry, have a food that you use on, but it's just a little bigger bucket, you know, depending on how big your family is. So in our family, I mean, we have a pantry too, even though we're right, you know, almost next door to a whole warehouse of food here. But we have a pantry in our house, and you know, we have little, you know, we use those like 2-gallon buckets of, you know, and some things 5-gallon buckets, depending on what the product is. You know, of course, you know, my wife and I, we raised 11 kids. So at one point in time, you know, we were going through a lot of food. Most of them are, you know, have their own families now, but the concept is the same. If you have the food in the pantry, which is all the ingredients that you normally use to make your food, so you have, you know, and everyone's diet slightly different. I don't recommend that there's a one size fits all as far as diet. Some people, you know, need more protein. Some don't need so much. You know, some people eat more raw foods. Others, you know, and all of them are good for most people if you're matching what works for you. But the thing that they all have in common is you need to eat clean. Nobody can deal with the chemicals, and everyone needs nutrient dense of whatever it is that they feel is the best for them. So by doing that, you're getting the very best. So Azure's model was really designed to fulfill the need to keep your pantry stocked. So when you're, you know, and that's one of the reasons we, you know, in many areas, we only deliver every 4 weeks. That's about the amount of time that you can stock a pantry. And, here on the West Coast, we deliver more frequently in a lot of areas. But, the majority of the country, our delivery is on a 4-week schedule. And that seems to be the sweet spot of how often people that actually have a good pantry of products, they buy in bulk, whatever bulk looks like for your family. If it's a single person, a bulk might be a 5-pound bag. Whereas in my family, it might be a 50-pound bag of the same thing. But whatever bulk looks like for your family, you're buying in bulk and keeping those ingredients so you can make whatever the healthy food that you need to make for your family all the time. And we do that. We do that in our house. And our job is to make it easy for you to keep that stocked all the time. And we, of course, have other things that you can buy as well, pots and pans and, cookie sheets and whatever, and we have, produce and things like that. But the key deal is to keep that pantry stocked with the healthiest food that you can possibly get or afford. And I tell you what, buying in bulk versus buying retail pack size, you can get much, much better quality food for the same price or less. I've gone and priced the beans and rice, so to speak, the ingredients in standard retail, and the conventional stuff is often more expensive than we sell the 25-pound bags or the larger sizes for of the organic equivalent in available, and we have that, to stock the pantry. So that's one of the keys. And in our house, I can't tell you, how much difference it made. One time we actually added up, what it cost to feed our family. And that's when we had, we still had like 10 kids at home. So it was a big, we had a pretty big crew we were feeding every day. And we were spending like $1.85 per meal on food and eating all organic. It wasn't, and granted, we do grow a garden for sure. And I'm 100% behind garden growing. I think everybody should grow a garden if you're possibly in any kind of an area to do so. It's key to healthy. It gets you into the soil, so you're actually experiencing organic farming a little bit. It's really cool. There's nothing better than getting your hands in the dirt and growing that garden. But including growing the garden, it makes the meals very affordable. And because it's there, you bought it in bulk, it's in your pantry, you just go scoop a little bit of it out and you're done. The meals are all there. There's no, I ran out of this, I have to run to the store. And that's one of the reasons we even made the Azure website. So it's pretty easy. You can go ahead and start your order and you can keep adding on to it all week long, all month long, or however long it is, that you have in between your delivery cycles. And you just keep adding more products. We had that request so many times. I can't think of, my list. Well, okay, just start an order, check it out, and you can just add to it all week long. Every time, hey, it's right there on your phone or whatever you use at your house. And just, it looks like my bucket's, less than half on pinto beans. We'll add another bag of pinto beans, or my flour's getting low, or my oil's getting low, or, whatever it is. And it makes it really simple to keep everything in stock in your home. And when what you referred to, that little disaster happens where you can't get to the grocery store. And I tell you what, during the early COVID time, about a year ago, it was major. There were we had people actually going hungry. It was not good if you were depending on that model and did not have a pantry of any sort. If you were depending on traditional retail model, running to the store for every meal, it didn't work out so well. So I think there's in my mind, it's a responsible thing to do for your family to have that pantry available. And we're here to fill it with the very best food that you can possibly have. And we deliver typically every 4 weeks on most, in Texas and places like that, excluding right here on the West Coast. And that model allows you to, we deliver to drop points, which are volunteers, usually volunteers that volunteer to take an Azure delivery. Sometimes that's at their homes. Sometimes it's in parking lots. Sometimes it's at churches. In fact, quite often it's churches, Grange halls. It can be all kinds of places that we make deliveries. So our volunteer coordinators, they set up a location, and we pull the truck in there. The driver gets out and hands the boxes out, whether they put them in the church for people to pick up whenever, or people all show up in the parking lot and put them right in their truck. However it works best for your group. It's a great way to get food. And the other thing, it's fresher. It never sat on a retail shelf. It's straight, we sell to retailers as well. So you're cutting a whole step out, and you're getting it fresher, and you're getting the highest quality, at least that I can find. And I've been doing that for 30 years now, so I kind of feel like I know both the best spots.
That's awesome. Thank you, David, for sharing that. I've had some questions come through, and I want to make sure that I went ahead and pulled up the website. I want to just show people what it looks like to go to the Azure website and the process. So you can register for free, and like David said, something that I do every month that I'm going to place an order is I start my order and I go ahead and process it so that I don't forget to do that in the end. I go ahead and process the order, but I can add or take off or modify my order all month long, or the shopping period, up until like an hour or so, until the deadline closes or ends. And I wanted to let people know that it's not just dry goods that we have enjoyed ordering from Azure. Most recently, we ordered, because we had one of the reasons we had the winter storm, we needed some starter plants, and you get one of these little magazines with the catalog, and I saw an advertisement for the starter plants. And so the Ellie's plants are great, and we just this year for the first time ordered a lot of starter plants, and we were amazed at the value that you get. Normally when you're ordering organic startups, plant starters, you only get one plant, and there are some plants that are a 2-pack or 3-pack, something like that. I think there are 3-packs and 5-packs. So if you are looking to start a garden and kind of try that out, you can get organic starter plants for very reasonable prices. And again, look at the selection. There are just dozens and dozens. I don't know how many is the total number of plants, over 100 starter plants.
About 130, and that's actually something we do here on the farm, is the starter plants. My daughter does that. She's been doing that for many, many years now. And so it's kind of a little family project that we do every spring. But my daughter manages that. And my younger kids have all worked. Every one of them have all worked in the greenhouses in the spring. That's one of their always their first job. But yeah, we've we started doing them for the farm, to be able to grow the vegetables and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to set up to do the starts for the farm side, and then my daughter got the bright idea that, and maybe with a little encouragement from Dad at the time, that a lot of Azure customers would enjoy it, and so it's so yeah, she had one greenhouse, and now she's up to eight greenhouses. Wow. And there's it works really well. You wouldn't think that they would ship well, but most of the time they do.
They do. We haven't had any
occasionally have a mishap, but for 98% of the time, they do really well. And that is something that part of my real love for supportive gardening. Hey, if you can garden in your place, even if it's in a big pot on the porch, do it. Hey, put a tomato in there or something. It's really cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, and what I recommend to people is, if you've never done any gardening at all, start with some herbs you like. So some cilantro, some parsley, have it near your home so that you remember to care for it and you have the joy of using it fresh. Here, there is a category for herbs that I just clicked on, and you can also grow some medicinal and edible flowers. Those are some other ways to get started with gardening if people feel intimidated by here are the plants, or start with one vegetable that you really enjoy. My recommendation for picking what to buy is something you enjoy eating so that you are vested in the outcome and that that you like it already. Buy it first if you like the fruit or the vegetable, and then and buy the plant. So this is a great way to do that. Here is an example of a pack that is a great deal. For example, this organic zucchini is a 5-pack for $3.60. If you go to a nursery where you might be paying the $3 for just one of the starter plants. So that's an opportunity. You have a 5-pack, even if somehow with your
and those are actually 6-packs. We just put down 5-packs in case we get so busy. So if we miss that one of the holes is empty, we don't want people saying, "Oh, I'm missing one plant." So we put 5-pack down. Just
I thought sometimes we get them and there's like 2 per hole or something like that, but at least
there's actually 6 holes on that zucchini.
That's awesome.
It's a 6-pack that we sell as a 5-pack, just in case we miss that one's missing.
Well, there you go. So it's even more value most of the time, and so again, as you're getting started, if you have it's your transplant, if you have one fails, you have 4 to 5 left that you could still experiment with. That's a highlight of something new that we have as a family taken advantage of for our homestead that I just wanted to point out. But David, is there something that is just not dry goods or groceries that you offer that maybe would get overlooked by someone that's new, that you just are really excited about having in stock that you'd like to highlight?
Well, I love to tell people about the fruit. Azure Farm here, one of our premier pieces is, we're orchards. That's, dry grain and orchards. That's our bigger acres. And so we're able to supply seasonal fresh fruit. And you're probably not going to see too much on here right now, maybe rhubarb or something. But cherries will be on soon. And once the cherries come on, then we will have fresh fruit. It'll be cherries will be on from probably the last week of June to through the first week of August, because we have a lot of different varieties of cherries that come on that we stagger planted in our orchards. So we can deliver cherries for about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the heat of the summer. And then apricots, peaches. We can usually run peaches for a good 6 weeks, from the early ones to the later ones. And then the standard apples. And you got to remember, these are, organic ones. This is produce, these are mostly from other farms that we work with, the ones you're showing here. We work with quite a few other farmers, some of them local, a lot of California, a couple in Hawaii, that supply, a lot of this fruit, the produce here. And that we sell under the Azure Market brand. The stuff we raise here on the farm, we sell under the Azure Husbandry brand. And I guess when you did that, the only thing that came up was the rhubarb. I think that's the only thing that's in season yet. But very shortly for the rest, usually, the apples will last into January. And that's really fun because they're so good. You have the very best. That's still showing out for season, but on the cherries. But they will be available. They're just starting to turn a little pink right now. You're just seeing a little bit of pink on the cherries. But this is premier growing area for fruit. This is very similar to the Yakima Valley area, where it's kind of the apple king of the nation. And the Dalles is considered the cherry capital, and that's only a few miles from here. So this is very premier fruit growing area. So that's a fun one during the summer, especially when you're from someplace that can't grow a lot of that kind of stuff. For our Texas customers that want to try some cherries in the summertime, these are the real thing. So that's another fun highlight that I like to tell people about. Another thing we've been getting into on a completely different note is cleaning products. A lot of the chemicals that come into our bodies come through our cleaners, our laundry soaps, our dish soap, a lot of that kind of thing. And a lot of us don't think about that too much. And so we have been working with a chemist, a guy who's really into the environmental aspects and health aspects of what cleaners do. And we put together a line of our own, with our own label called Azure Clean. And that's been a big project this past year, is really refining that line, making sure it's the cleanest possible ingredients that actually work. I mean, you can get some pretty clean ingredient stuff. Oh, you can drink this soap. Well, this stuff doesn't really work either. But this stuff does. It actually works. It gets stuff clean, and it's all stuff that is not detrimental to the body or the environment. And we were very careful to make sure, there's no SLSs or any of that kind of crap in any of these products. So that's been a pretty big project that we've been working on lately.
David, let me ask you something. With this line of products, do you have, I see that there are some like bathroom cleaners and other types of cleaners. So did I hear you say whether you have dishwashing liquid, or is it just powder that you have?
No, we have hand dish soap. I think that's right there. Smiley Suds dish soap. You got it up right now.
And do you know if this is safe for, let's say, if people are wanting to do gray water, recycle their gray water to put in the garden?
Absolutely. That's the key. There's no residual environmental toxins. Everything in these cleaners will break down. And the scientist that helped us develop this, I mean, that's totally his area of expertise. He's an environmental scientist, so everything will break down if it gets into the soil through bacterial action, or even into the river, into a water supply. He didn't put anything in any of these that would damage the streams or the soil. So if you want to pipe your gray water out and irrigate your orchard with it, or your your shrubberies or trees or whatever, you can totally do
very
that.
Exciting stuff.
So that's one of the keys, because I do that in our house. Our gray water we use to irrigate some walnut trees. So
yeah, I'm actually wanting to rearrange our system to do more gray water recycling. So I want to rearrange some things to where I have it's easier, right, to recycle the water from soaking things and washing things. So and also, do you have laundry, or is it just?
We have a laundry powder and a laundry liquid, both.
Both, okay. And let's
Yeah.
see, laundry. I believe it's this one.
So that's a stain remover.
Nope, that's not it.
For laundry.
All right, let me see. Don't know that I'm finding it. I'm not sure if it's in stock at the moment. Let me see. Maybe that.
Is it showing out of stock? Hopefully
it might.
not.
Maybe I'm not looking for it in the right way, but we'll definitely can put links to the laundry one. I'm only finding the remover at the moment. But that's very exciting as we consider being, other ways of being a good steward. It's not just to use products that don't harm the environment, but also to recycle the water, reuse the water. And by using these products, then there's a peace of mind in that. So I'll have to add that link later. Is there anything else that might be new or that you're excited about that you have?
Well, one that we've been spending quite a bit of time on and energy on lately, and it's kind of it's kind of a cool product, but is carob. I don't know if you're familiar with the carob.
We ordered some of it. Yes, we did.
But we developed, and this was basically non-existent. And here we developed a line of carob. Some of it, and the uncommon carob in bars, but the chips is what has sold more. But we actually put in the equipment to make all this stuff, and right now we're having to expand that again to a really large line. So not only are we selling it like these carob chips, and these unsweetened actually have no sweetener whatsoever. It's just the natural sweetness of the carob, and they're good. Taste, put them in cookies or whatever, or trail mix, and they're great. But we actually had to build the equipment from scratch because nobody was making organic carob. Almost all the carob that was out there, it had sugar in it. It was just pretty crappy. And we used to sell carob, and we finally, had people asking, but we wouldn't even sell it because the ingredients were so bad. And so finally we said, well, maybe we can figure it out. I don't know if we'd have known how much work it was going to be if we'd have done it, but since we did, it's a really fun product. And we are now, I believe, the only certified organic carob manufacturer in the country. So we're actually doing it for a lot of other people. So anyone who are using organic carob, not the powder, but the chips or the bars or whatever, we probably made it for them.
That's awesome. And that's, I want to say that what people don't realize is that as a member of Azure, it's like a wholesale buying club, and you're buying quality ingredients that, like you said, other stores or restaurants or other producers may be buying. You are in the same, you have the same buying power as other producers, and I really like the ability to buy. And I will say, let me just point it out. I like the ability to buy spices. Also, you were talking about not running out of your ingredients for. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to all food, but you can buy everything you need for baking, like David mentioned, beans and legumes. If you like raw cheese or other types of cheeses, they have a lot of different options. But what I wanted to share with that, I don't know if you can see on my screen for those of you watching, but right here, I have the option to select organic only. And so if I only want to buy things with an organic certification, then I go ahead and turn that on, and then it filters out anything that's not certified organic. And we have enjoyed buying several Azure Market organic spices. We keep several spices in stock, but some of our favorites are like cumin, garlic, cinnamon, red pepper, and you have even dehydrated herbs and things here for people that like to have kelp and those types of items. They can find them here as well. And also whole seeds like the whole mustard seeds and whole peppercorns. We have purchased those as well. So I want people to realize, as you're watching, whether you've looked at Azure before or this is your very first time to really give it a serious intentional look, is that pretty much everything that you consume you can purchase from Azure, and other things that you may not have gotten into yet. If you wanted to try new, maybe ancient grains, let me go ahead. And the reason that we started purchasing directly from Azure, we had purchased before with friends, other things. We kind of would go in and buy things, and they would order it for us and would go pick it up. But Jason, about when we moved back from Mexico, he was like, this is it. Everything we've been talking about for the last 13 years, I want to start doing, and I want to bake my own bread, and I want to mill it. And that's where he got into purchasing whole wheat. And he actually bought a hand crank mill and started doing it. So I want you to see here the grains. So again, it's organic only right now, but you can choose from different types of wheat. Wheat that we buy, kamut, the Corson wheat, and you can see the options there. But you can buy einkorn, and we've basically purchased oats, millet, kamut, quinoa. We have bought rice and sorghum and emmer and all these different types of wheat, so that you're not only eating just standard wheat. You have options, whether it's rye or spelt. If you are able to, buy it when it's in stock in season, then you, like David said, you can keep your pantry stock, keep it full of the things that your family enjoys, that keeps your family healthy. And you don't have to run out. You can plan ahead a couple of months and not have a situation.
If you're too lazy to crank the mill, like, at our family, we do have almost every one of these items in flour as well. We have a mill on the farm, and we grind all these flours fresh every day. So, we have the kamut flour, the spelt flour, the rice flours, the wheat flours, of course, rye, all these einkorn, all those are available in flours as well. And it's a really cool mill. It's an impact mill. It has a high-speed rotor, and it just kind of explodes the grain. So it makes a really nice baking flour, and it has a really good shelf life. It doesn't go rancid quickly at all. It's a very, very stable flour.
Yeah,
So anyway.
I
So
did used to mill our flour, and then I decided to just go ahead and try the flour that you guys offer. So we have both the grain and the flour now. But here it is. You click on the flour category, and you can see the different things that are available, and you can again select it by organic. And for example, here on the left, you can. If you're interested in einkorn, then here are the Azure Market options. Most of the time, also, I want people to know if you're looking at this on your phone, the Azure website on your phone, just know that you'll have a drop-down menu to see these options here that I'm clicking on. I'm on a desktop version, but you'll have a drop-down menu to select different options. For example, this 25-pound bag is going to be way less per pound, like half less. So you can save a lot by choosing a larger size and buying in bulk. Also, I wanted to ask you, David, I've noticed that some people buy their buckets and things from you. Are there any pointers for people that are getting started in storing food, if they want to get their pantry stock for the next 90 days, let's say?
well, it's kind of cool that you asked. About a year ago, right when we were getting a lot of inquiry about this, I actually did a video with my wife, and we did a video together with our recommendations for food storage. If you want to store things a little longer term, and how to use the buckets, how to use the Mylar bags, how to use the oxygen absorbers, a little bit about that. So I don't know if we can get a link up there on that article, or the video rather. But I think it's under articles on the website. But it's definitely available, and I did a kind of a full thing about that.
So I see a most popular article, smart long-term food storage. Would that be it?
That I think is an article that Susan wrote based on the video I did. There may be a link to the video.
That might be it. Practical food storage.
Yeah, I think it's right there.
Okay.
So, it's a little bit longer video.
We'll put it on 2x. So what are some of the things that you shared on that video that are some of your favorite highlights?
Well, number one, store the things that you normally eat. I can't tell you how many people that had problems with, buying a bunch of stuff and storing it, and then it's not what you eat. So you store a bunch of wheat and you don't even have a flour mill. Don't do that. Store what you're going to actually eat, and in the form that you have that you're able to eat it in. So that's key. The other thing is, if you're going to store it, the coolest, driest spot that you have is the best place to store. So here we show, if you're going to do it longer term, you want to get it sealed up so it's nice and dry. Mylar bag's a great way to do that. An oxygen absorber pulls the oxygen out so it'll last a lot longer and stay fresher. Those are cool things. Truthfully, in our house, we don't actually do that all that much. We've worked with a lot of customers to do that over the years, and I've tested it. We've put everything in buckets. We've stored them for many years just to see how long they'll store, and then ate the product 8-10 years later, just to see. We did a lot of that, back in 2008. And but the key is you still want to rotate your stock if you can. So use things, store things that you eat and keep them cool and dry, and they'll last a long time, especially grains and beans and things like that. Grains will last, they found kamut, not kamut, but wheat. Kamut is a brand name that's actually called Khorasan. But they found that in the pyramid. Dang, it was probably there for 1,000 years or more, and it grew still. So it was still viable. And because it was kept in a cool and dry spot. So that's the same thing, is as long as you're keeping it in a cool, dry spot, things will keep for a very long time. And hey, for that emergency that you were talking about, having an extra bag down there in the cellar that you can break out, hey, it's a good idea. But anyway, this video is just more of a how to do that, pointers on how to do it easily, how to put a bucket lid on, how to seal a Mylar bag, in this case with an iron that most people would have in their homes without special equipment or anything like that. Just make it easy, do it yourself, and it's no big deal. And it's very simple. And we sell the Mylar bags, we sell the buckets, we sell the lids. The Gamma lids are cool. They've been in a little short supply this year because the manufacturer is pegged out as fast as they can manufacture them. But they're really nice because they have the screw on top and you can get into them and out without, wrecking your lid and taking it on and off. Mm-hmm. So, we use buckets in our house a lot. We also, depending on what it is, but we also use glass. So in our pantry, you're going to see glass bottles and plastic buckets. The 5-gallon size for just a few things like, flour and oats, and then the 2-gallon for most of the other things, for the beans and the rice and the things that you would use a little less of. And a 5-gallon bucket will hold about 35 pounds of grain or about 25 pounds of flour perfectly. So if you're doing like a bag of flour, you buy 25 pounds of flour, it'll dump right into your bag. So, or right into your bucket. And then if you have a Gamma lid on, just, you can scoop right out of it. Makes it really convenient.
Yeah, I see that you guys have a lot of different options for people to consider. These one-piece lids are always great for storage. You don't have to deal
We
with
do
those.
not consider ourselves a food storage company.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we do. We want to supply the food that you eat on an everyday basis. But if you have a pantry and even a little extra in the pantry, I think it's a great idea. We totally advocate that. But it's a whole different things. But what we do not do is we do not do buckets and put out oxygen absorbers in and get them all ready for you and sell them all ready to go. And we do not do MRIs, like military meals or whatever. First of all, I think the nutrition content on that freeze-dried stuff is kind of crappy.
We don't recommend MREs at all. Like I don't. So, I want people to buy the food and know that they like it. And then if they would like to store more, like you said. Now, let me ask you something, David. Recently, I had the opportunity to train with some trainers from Zimbabwe, and they were talking about I think I had heard of this before, but it's just fresh in my mind. To seal a container, you can put a candle, like a small candle in it, and then like a drum, like if you're storing grain. Have you ever tried to do that, where you have a small candle and then you close it and then it seals? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And basically, we cheat and put an oxygen absorber pack in. It does the same thing. So what's happening is you're burning the oxygen out of the bag, and when all the oxygen is gone, the candle goes out. And personally, I've never tried it. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen other people, tell me about it and do
Mm-hmm.
it, but it does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just cheat and put the oxygen absorber in, but it is
Yeah.
another way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do that, if you want to do a beeswax candle or something that's clean, be sure you
Mm-hmm.
don't do scented or anything like that, because
No, for sure.
you
That
can
would be
really
horrible.
mess it up. But you
You
make
have
sure,
clean organic food and
yeah, that some of that stuff is not good. So just
that would be terrible. I had a question come in about how to find a drop. How does one find a drop near you? So what you want to do is follow the link that I shared below, and once you register and you put in your address, then you can find drops near you.
you can actually
And that's
even do it at the bottom of the website. There's a link to find one. You can just put your zip code in or your city. So at the very bottom in the footer, there's one called Find a Drop. It's under the Join In, Find a Drop to the left, right there. And then a little map should pull up. And then if you want to put your zip code in there, not sure why it's... So that pops up, and those blue dots basically represent a drop. And if you zoom in enough, they actually become a drop. But you could type in a city there if you want to type in a city, or a zip code, and just hit search. It'll actually tell you what the closest drop is to you. So you just did Texas, and it just kind of, so if you can zoom in. So if you're in Austin area there, you could zoom in to that Austin area and look at the map and find it doesn't go right down to the block, but it goes pretty close.
mm-hmm.
We want to respect our drop point, because a lot of people do it at their homes. And so we want to respect their privacy to, in the sense of pinpointing their house. We don't do that, but we get within a couple blocks right there.
Yeah, and I want people to see that it's not just in Texas, it's not just in the Northwest. It is all over. There's activity and drops from South Florida all the way up. And so even if I will encourage people, even if at the beginning there's not a drop local to you, then you might even find something that you can drive to, get to know some like-minded people that care about healthy food, that care about taking care of their families. And we actually enjoy our time once a month meeting with our drop. We've made some friends, and we've gotten to tour their farms and we share gardening tips with people. So even if you're just wanting to get to know like-minded people, finding ordering and finding a drop in your region, it's a great time for us once a month. Our Azure pickup, we really appreciate our coordinator who's been doing it for 10 years. And so it's a really great way to build community and to support, again, family-run business that is Azure. I want to also, I want to make sure that I speak to a question that someone asked about what are the best pantry items to keep in stock. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, David, but I did record a video called the top 10 basically grocery items to keep on hand. And basically what I tell people is that the best foods that you can buy, in my opinion, and what I recommend to our students and our audience, is that buying food that you can sprout, that you can plant or that you can cook. It's threefold, right? So if you're buying the whole organic grains, seeds and grains, things that will sprout, that if you have a situation where you can't have greens, that at least you can sprout them and eat them that way and have some extra nutrition. To me, those are the best foods to have extra of. For our family, actually, rice is not the number one thing that we buy in bulk. We, like I said, when the world zigs, we zag. So we prefer millet and sorghum grain, and it's a lot more affordable and very versatile in how we cook it, all the different things that I do with it. But for people, my answer to that would be, find things that are, dry goods, dry grains, legumes, and beans that are multi-purpose, that you can dry, that you can, that you can sprout, that you can plant, or that you can, cook and eat. And that way, even if you have a situation where you're off grid, it's not detrimental that you need electricity to do it. My number one favorite thing to buy from Azure for off-grid cooking or eating, like in a survival situation, is the organic rolled oats. Because even if you can't cook them, you can soak them and eat them raw. They're already pre-steamed, and you can soak them overnight, or you can soak them for 15 to 20 minutes and eat them that way. And it provides a snack, or something that you can combine with some dehydrated fruits. You can order dates or raisins from Azure, and you can order walnuts. Those are the things that we get, and sunflower seeds, and have something that's crunchy, that's nutritious, and it doesn't require any electricity, any energy, or any fire, any gas, to have something turnkey. As far as other grocery items, my number one grocery item, to answer that question, would be baking soda. I tell people I can teach you so many different ways to use baking soda, but I'm not going to be able to teach you how to make baking soda. So have baking soda. These are all things we have ordered from Azure. Baking soda, have apple cider vinegar, have good quality coconut oil. Again, these are all things that you can easily buy in bulk from Azure. And the apple cider vinegar, the organic apple cider vinegar with the mother, is very affordable through Azure. That's the only place that we buy it from now. And so let's see. And so again, those are top things that we recommend. And my recommendation also for people that would like to grow their pantry is try things like our family has done. Try things away from the beans and rice, like we started trying millet, different ways to eat millet, sorghum grain, and there are things that are not the number one thing that everybody is trying to buy. Have other options of things that you are learning to eat and enjoy. And that way, when other things might be out of stock, then you have options that you already know that you like, instead of being, in a stressful situation or a crisis, trying to learn how to like something, if that makes sense. So those are some of the things that we personally, everything that, I share on this, in this broadcast and in all of our videos, or things from our personal experience. We practice what we preach. So what are some things, David, that your family does for keeping extra things on hand?
Well, like I said, we have a pantry, and there's, that we keep stocked. And there's probably we probably have close to 50 things that we eat as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And rice and beans are certainly on the list for us. Mm-hmm. But we also do millet. We do oatmeal. Or, actually my wife does both quick and regular oats is in our pantry. We do usually two kinds of flour. We do the pastry flour and a hard flour, hard red typically. We use the pastry for pretty much anything except bread, but my wife bakes bread as well. So And occasionally she'll splurge and do some pasta flour, durum flour, and make pasta, but that's usually a wintertime project, just for fun. And then nuts and seeds. Our go-to is, almonds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, raisins, and dates is usually the two dried fruits that we have in our pantry. The rest of it, we eat. As far as vinegars and oils, we do the apple cider vinegar, the balsamic vinegar, or olive oil, and a cooking oil, either avocado or safflower, typically, depending.
Is there any olive oil in particular that's your favorite for your pantry?
I'm sorry, which was that?
The olive oil. What would be a family favorite for your pantry?
Oh yes, olive oil is definitely a favorite, and we use our Azure Market. That's a single source olive oil, which is really cool. It comes from Tunisia, and it's grown on a very large plantation there, and it's probably, I would consider it a mid to high grade oil. It's not the kind that's gonna bite your palate instantly, but yet it does have a little bite to it, and but it's not so much that it can't be for everyday use. So it's kind of a middle, an all-purpose, if you will, olive oil. It's not really a rich and robust, or if you want a real bland olive oil, like Bragg's has a super bland olive oil, but it also, the super bland has almost no polyphenols in it. And the super, the bitier ones have higher polyphenols, but if they're so bitey you can't use them on an everyday use, they're just for flavoring for Italian food, then you're not getting much of the good stuff anyway. So this is the one. I researched olive oil. I probably got 100 samples when we were coming up with which olive oil to carry. My staff would tell you how crazy I went on olive oil to actually find the right one. And this is the one that we came up with. I think this is the best all-purpose olive oil. I would still someday like to come up with a rich and robust, just for that flavoring type thing. I'm not going to come up with a blander one. I think, this is as bland as I want to go with, still being a high quality oil. So anyway, it was my choice. And we're getting a container about every 3 months. So that's 40,000 pounds. So it is pretty popular with our customers.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. We have tasted a single origin from Tunisia, and so I'm excited to try it now. Did I click on the right one? It says the country of origin. This particular one that I clicked on said Spain also.
Well, if it says Spain, I need to fix it, because
okay, but this is the one.
This is the one. Yes,
yeah,
it is not
Azure
from
Market
Spain.
Organics olive oil, extra virgin cold pressed.
Yes. Yep. Oh. This is the one that and we've had this one for about over a year now. But I really, like I say, we really went.
Well, great. I look forward to trying it. I know we've enjoyed.
It says Spain/Tunisia. We could actually take Spain off of there now, but it is correct, because it's either from one of those two places, but it's all from the latter now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, David, for your generous contribution to come and to share the story of Azure, to let people find out that there are alternative ways to buy healthy food that is not just from their local retail stores, and also how they can increase their buying power to buy healthy food for less, but also easy ways that they can buy in bulk, so they don't have to really think about how many packages does it take to make 5 pounds or whatever, or 25 pounds. It's already available for people to easily store it in bulk. I really appreciate your company and what you're doing, and we're always excited to try new Azure husbandry products. And we just pray blessings on your continued effort to expand, to serve more and more communities. I do want to remind everyone this, because this is something that is kind of people don't realize, like David mentioned, that all the drops are, when you go pick up your order, they're run by volunteers. So basically, they're volunteer run buying clubs that Azure is the provide the supplier for. And so when you go, just know that there's just different dynamics of how different volunteers run their drops. And some areas have multiple drops to choose from within radius if you live in a more populated area. And again, if you can't find a drop in your area, I want to give you 2 ideas. One is contact Azure to see if they're starting a drop in your community, and 2 is consider starting a drop in your community. Contact them about what it would take to get something closer to be on your route. And if you can't have something, like I said, local, just consider driving a little ways, and you'll probably really enjoy that monthly meetup to get to know like-minded people that care about their family's health, and they want to support national growers, and they really care about the ingredients and the things that they're putting in their body and the quality of their food. Are there any final things, David, as we close, to share with people? Did we miss anything as people are considering this model of buying through
Well,
a club?
it's fun. It's a big subject, and I just want to close with the concept that, hey, it does work, not only for economics but for health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely, it was, what inspired me to do it was because it changed our family's health from being, a sickly family. I almost died as a child. Everyone was sick. To now, a family. When I raised my family using this model, I raised 11 children in our household, and we never even had to take one to a doctor. Other than one broken femur, they never saw a doctor.
That's fantastic.
And you can't imagine that, they grew up rich, like a bunch of, healthy, wild kids, if you will. 2 of them ended up college athletes. There's no athleticism, particularly in our family. It's because the people that, are competing are eating such junky food. Just because they're healthier, they end up, at the top of the list being athletes. It does, from a sickly family to a very robust and healthy one, it's changed every way that we look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have heard the same story from many, many of our customers. It happened to me. It happened to our family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened to many of our customers' families. And I'm not saying it's a panacea that can take care of everything. Health is not just about what we eat. That's a huge part of it, but it's also about the way we think. Mm-hmm. It's about our spiritual and emotional aspects play into health as well in a very real way. So I'm not saying it's all about the food, but the healthier our body is, the easier it is to have a clear mind. Mm-hmm. And the easier it is to think positively. And mm-hmm. that's what really changes our health for the better in the long run. So from a health aspect, and you can do it without breaking the budget. And that's what that's the beauty of the system. And that's why I want to replicate this in as many homes as possible. So thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, David.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, again, everyone, we just want to invite you to click on the link below and see what drops are close to you, or contact Azure if you don't find one right away. And it's free to get an account and start test driving and seeing how you can start stocking your pantry with healthy food for less. Thanks again, David, for this amazing time that you've given us. And thank you for all of those of you who commented. If you have any questions as you're watching the replay, please go ahead and comment on the link below, and we'll get you the support that you need. And as I always like to close all of our broadcasts, may the Lord bless you and keep you, shine his face towards you, be gracious to you, turn his countenance towards you, and give you shalom peace. Thanks again, David.